Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, and welcome to a little video I made over here. Now, I'm not really known for doing like reviews and shit all the time, but I made these series of videos where I played games on consoles I never expected it, ladies and gentlemen, like Call of Duty 4 on the Wii. Today's video is going to be a little bit more fucking different. It's not going to be me playing a round of PUBG or anything like that. It's going to be me actually talking about fucking PlayerUnknown's Battleground on the Xbox One. PlayerUnknown's Battleground, for a lot of people, is one of the biggest phenomenons on the market right now, and almost won Game of the Year. It's one of the early access games that's about to be released as a full fucking title. At a time where me personally, I laugh at the idea of early access games because I know almost 90% of the time they never get fucking released or they get shafted on and turned into microtransaction havens before they ever even see a full release. So PlayerUnknown's Battleground is getting the full release. It's got a nice test server thing going around, but it just came out on Xbox One, and more importantly, it's Xbox One X enhanced. Now, your boy doesn't have an Xbox One X. I could care far fucking less about owning an Xbox One X. I got a pretty beefy PC for it anyways. The Xbox One X, running my games at slightly higher resolutions, but still 30 frames, doesn't really spark as, you know, $600 fucking level of worthwhile to me, so I didn't really bother to opt for it. I myself did this entirely on an Xbox One S, so disclaimers right there put out entirely. PlayerUnknown's Battleground is a game that I've had a shaky start with. I wasn't really a fan of it since the beginning, but I made a couple of videos on it. I've definitely streamed it a few times, and I've been getting into playing it not just a duo, which is my duo or squads, which is my preferred way to play it with a friend, but I've been getting into it in a solo-based manner too. There's just something exciting about landing on an island with 99 other people, gathering a bunch of weapons, and basically going around like you're fucking, you know, top-tier hitman and just knocking out people one by one as time goes on. It's because of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds that I've actually read the Battle Royale anime and manga and watched it, not the anime, but the manga, the novel, and the actual movie that it was, the Japanese source material that PlayerUnknown's Battleground is sort of loosely, I guess, based from, and I've just been falling in love with this kind of dystopian future kind of stuff anyways. Now, PUBG isn't exactly known for having a storyline, so that's why this video is going to be pretty fucking short, because there's no storyline to really cover over here. PUBG is a multiplayer-only game. It's a very popular multiplayer game. It's coming out on fucking cell phones too as well, which is definitely something I'll have to cover. But it came out on Xbox One. As far as I know, it's a console exclusive for a long fucking time. Microsoft's putting a lot of money. But the question is, how does it run, ladies and gentlemen? That was my biggest question. I'm a technical dude at heart, so when it comes time to realizing PUBG, which is a game that already runs like ass on a lot of people's computer anyways, I can't really say the same. I run it on beefy hardware, and it runs fine. But running it on more normal hardware like my brother's or, you know, a couple friends of mine, it definitely chugs along if you try to max it out, take it anywhere close. And does it look anywhere great for it to be doing that? No. It's just because PUBG is a game that puts in a massively huge world. It has a lot of CPU calculations to do. There's a lot of back-end stuff that you need higher-end stuff to really make it possible. Now, when I was looking at it running on the Xbox One, I was wondering, the Xbox One, and among the PlayStation 4, and even the Xbox One X, is a system where CPU power isn't exactly pushed to the forefront. These systems have a lot of great graphical power, let me tell you that much. The PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X are good graphical systems. They definitely have good GPU power. But one of the biggest things that PUBG requires, one of the biggest things that it needs is CPU power. CPU power is needed for a lot of games like strategy games, you know, games such as massively multiplayer online games, you know, games such as even Destiny, which has a lot of back-end calculation with tons of other players. And then you got to add, in fact, that there's a game like PUBG where it's got to calculate 100 players, including you, on a giant map. Doing everything all at once. It's got to calculate things around you, things far away from you. It's got to keep talking back and forth between the server and the client. There's a lot of technical stuff that actually shows how impressive a game like this can really be and why it requires some high-end hardware. Even though it might not be visually as striking as you'd expect, it definitely does a lot of things that are very technologically important. It's very intense. So, initially loading up PUBG on the Xbox One, it's a far fucking cleaner looking system. The UI from the newer test server is all there. It looks like it's a newer version of the game running. As soon as you play the game, you'll notice things like vaulting, which aren't in the public version as of this video, like the PC version right now. So it's a little bit upgraded in comparison to what we have right now on the computer. That's sort of a good thing. You know, the map, I feel like there's some slight tweaks to it as well to make it a little more friendly on the console hardware as well, but nothing too much for it to be anywhere noticeable. I've noticed that every single place I've been landing, such as the military base, such as craters, such as the school, such as things around, such as the biggest landmarks, really are all about the same in of itself. The weapons are all there. The exact items you find are all there. In fact, all the cosmetics seem to be right there as well. But one of the biggest things is how poopy the game can run, ladies and gentlemen. The game is supposed to hit 30 frames per second. I want you to take a wild fucking guess how many times it hits 30 frames per second. There is a blue moon somewhere up in the fucking sky. When that thing is up there, and there's 3 hummingbirds that shit in unison in Beijing, China, is when the game hits 30 frames per second, ladies and gentlemen. As soon as you fly out, you basically start, going into your parachute, the initial phase of a PUBG match. The game crawls down to like 8-9 frames per fucking second. It is a laggy mess. And I've heard the same exact thing looking at comparisons between the 1X and the 1. It's a laggy fucking mess. But as soon as you touch the ground, it sort of starts to harmonize. You get to play the game at 20 to 30 frames per second. Now, of course, it's not fucking anywhere close to ideal. There's a lot of judder that takes place. But the game actually has a really nice solution where it kind of plays as responsively as Destiny would, which is another game that runs at the 30 frames per second mark. But it does control relatively smooth. It's very responsive. And in that case, it makes PUBG playable on the console at least. Now, console-wise, I've only done a couple matches, really. Not a couple matches. I've done about 10, 15 matches on the console. Nothing too terribly long, but I've had a good, fair amount of assessment that I can really put on this game entirely. I played with a couple of my friends, and I played by myself a couple matches, and it's been a general fun time. Some of the people on Xbox One carry mics around, but most people don't if you're squatting up, so you probably want to have a couple friends if you're willing to go out and buy PUBG. That's about the most important reason to get it. That's about the reason I actually got it myself. PUBG is a game that's best explored if you're with your friends, and the only reason I got this is because a lot of my friends, they don't have time to get a gaming PC or anything of the sort. A lot of my friends now, they're married, they have kids, and they're doing things other than being a piece of shit like me and playing some of these video games late in the nights, streaming around. I guess I'm a little behind on that aspect, but I'm not complaining. It's a whole different personal story, if anything, but it makes it so that my friends couldn't really get access to like top tier gaming PCs or anything of the sort to really play the game or get through the fact of understanding it, or just generally the fact that most people who are sitting in front of a computer for work almost every day hate fucking coming home to relax in front of a computer as well. Which is the reason I got PUBG on the Xbox One as well. Now, I am not one of the people that usually scoffs, and I'm not a PC master elitist, even though I play games on the PC primarily. I can play a game at 30 frames per second. I'm not going to fucking, I'm not going to hurl and die and choke on my own vomit or anything of the sort. But it definitely is kind of staggering to know that one of the flagship games, the people that Microsoft sent their top staff to help program, ended up coming out a little bit more garbled than you expected. The game was already clunky as shit on the PC. It's already really fucking clunky on the Xbox One. All right? It takes that like 100 steps more higher in terms of clunkiness. The frame rate is all over the fucking place. It barely touches 30. But I'll tell you something right now. There is a level of fun in the game that almost counteracts all the negativity that you get. And honestly, for $35, it isn't a bad investment if you're going in for one of the biggest, most popular games online at the moment. Now, could you get this game on the computer? Sure, you could. You do need some beefy hardware for it. So let that be in mind if you're not one of the people that wants to fuck with computers, or you got an Xbox One sitting around and you primarily play on that and you can't really be fucked with getting a big-ass PC of the sort. I think PUBG on the Xbox One is definitely one of the smarter choices for a lot of people willing to get into the PlayerUnknown's Battleground stuff at this point in time. There's other games you can get like Fortnite Battle Royale, but I've personally never been able to get into Fortnite. There's just something about it that lacks the realism and the punch of having this Battle Royale world. And I think as time goes on, you're going to start to see more and more of this genre kick in. It's a very popular genre, and I can definitely tell you that every single console manufacturer is going to try pushing somebody to get any form of PUBG getting running on their systems. I could almost see this in Metal Gear Survive, if anything. That could have been a fucking PUBG game, if anything, too. The shooting mechanics in MGS5 were great enough. Apply that to 100 players in Afghanistan, you'd have a banging good old time. But that's really all I have to say about PlayerUnknown's Battleground. It is a fun game on the console. It's technically something that isn't really impressive at all, whether you get the Xbox One X hardware or the One standard. And alongside that, it definitely comes across with its shortcomings, but the fun is all there. And I think, if anything, anybody that's walking into this to get into a 100, player unknown battleground experience is going to have a pretty generally okay time. It's an early access game, so things only improve from here. Let's all hope that this game gets up to snuff, it gets running just fine. There's a reason why it never touched 60 frames per second like the articles mentioned beforehand, is because the game is pretty fucking in alpha state at the moment. But for those who have it on the PC, it's coming out next week, I think, as a full fucking release, so big shout out to that. Big banging shout out to that. But anybody that's getting on the Xbox right now or thinking of it, if you got a couple friends, I'd say go for it. It's definitely an interesting experiment. It's one of the best early access games on the Xbox One right now. And with Microsoft's stance on early access and how it gets sent to their store, it's definitely going to come out as a full release. So for $30, it's not a bad investment to throw into it if you're willing to get into this game, or if you already have some friends, go for it. This is me, Mudahar. I'm going to go back to playing some more PUBG. I am out.